We are live on the Virtual Grip Network, and once again, we hop in the DeLorean to travel back to 1966 for this season's YesterYear Tour Modifieds, where some of the best Tour Mod drivers will compete for one of the most prestigious and unique titles on the iRacing platform, the Old Red Boot. I'm Zach Chapman, aka Shaggy, along with my partner in crime, J.R. Shepard. We're lucky enough to have the heartbeat of EGN bring us all the sights and sounds, the one and only Brian Seneca. 2 weeks ago, the gang rolled into South Boston for 300 laps of bumper-to-bumper action. Tom Ogle came into the night to extend his points lead, though disappointment in qualifying would lead to Tom needing a little luck, along with a fast race car. To his fortune, he had both, as an early caution allowed him to steal a couple spots, along with early favorite Brian Bianchi coming down pit road to top off fuel, even though he was out front. The old saying, cautions breed cautions, proved to be true, as an almost immediate caution led to Bianchi receiving damage and pretty much taking him out of contention. It was then we saw our first long green flag run, which led to some drivers pitting under green for fuel, even though they weren't quite out yet, which also proved to be a questionable strategy. Caution would trap all but 7 drivers a lap down, and this was when Tom knew it was his race to lose. He felt pressure the final 30 laps from Ken Allen, but with a few laps to go, Ken ran out of fuel, allowing Tom to cruise home with a half-track lead. Can Tom continue his run, or will tonight be the night that Hubble AI is right again and Brian Neff brings home the checkered flag? Let's find out as we're set to go 250 laps around the Langley Speedway. The date was September 17th, 1966. The race, the Hampton 250, which paid $1,000 to win, about $10,000 in today's current value. Runt Harris walked away with the prize money, but it wasn't without an all-out war with Ray Hendrick that saw the two trading paint until a late engine issue saw Ray limp home with a 7th place finish. Now, JR, trading paint on the bull rings, we've been trading paint on the bull rings, man, since 1966. And when we roll into Langley tonight, I've got to be honest, I expect a whole lot more of it as we get ready to roll with the YesterYear Tour Modifieds.
Absolutely. So Shaggy, Langley, it's a difficult short track, especially in these powerful Tour Modifieds. This place, it's less than 0.4 of a mile in length, but the turns are banked at only 6 degrees. And that banking is so little that when you drive around here at speed, it feels like the track is actually banked in the opposite direction, which all adds up to a track that is tough to make passes on. And I'm afraid for those drivers who did not get a good qualifying lap in here, it is going to be a long 250 laps, which normally leads to some contact being made, just like you mentioned, and some drivers becoming very frustrated. Shaggy, this is the type of track where emotions can run high, but I think the driver who keeps it in check best tonight has that best shot of walking away with the checkered flag.
Now, JR, I truly know I'm putting you on the spot here because I should have asked you when we were screwing around the last 20 minutes. But is there a chance here, 250 laps? I mean, I know sometimes this place is only, 0.4 of a mile. Are we going to be able to go all the way on 1 tank of gas, do you think? Or are we going to have to stop at least once tonight?
You know, it's going to depend on the number of cautions. I think roughly these drivers, they can go about 200, 210 laps on fuel if we stay green. But if we get cautions, which I do expect to have happen around this place, some of these drivers may be able to extend that out to the full 250 laps. So it's going to be interesting. I think there may be some strategy, especially if you're a driver like I talked about that didn't qualify very well. That could very well be your strategy to kind of ride around and save fuel, go racing at the end.
Now, talking about strategy, JR, I know last week, and I talked a little bit about it, the undercut didn't really, Bianchi was out front, so not much of an undercut. We're going to try to short pit this thing, make it last until the end. You think we have anybody trying that here tonight, or is it going to be maybe, go till I'm almost empty?
Yeah, I think it's going to be more of a desperate move, in my opinion, based on what we've seen in the previous races. If you try to pit early, you're putting yourself in a very vulnerable position. I think it's best to try to stay out. We know how these races go. cars end up a lap down, you got to stay on that lead lap as long as you can. So I think you need to extend as long as you possibly can before you come in and get some fuel.
We'll get ready. Let's take a look at this starting grid. This is no insult to those drivers, but I'll tell you, I don't think we've seen a front row here that's looked like this all season. On the pole, Jerry Isaacs with the quick time, and Scott Negus only 0.07 of a second off right there in P2.
Yeah, inside of row number 2, the Hubble AI favorite, Brian Neff. On the outside, Tom Ogle.
The double deuce, Bruce Pearson, lines up on the inside of row 3. To the outside, Todd Liston.
Rolling off in 7th, we got the 9 of Alan Wanamaker. In 8th, the 37 of Eric YesterYear.
Chris Davis lines up on the inside of row 5. To the outside, Torrance Childs.
Inside row 6, we got Ken Allen, and on the outside in 12th, Jeff Lemire.
Rory Collins to the inside of Brian Johnson. There, row 7 in the Lipper. Chris Hazlip going to round out the field, and I threw JR under the spot, or under the bus there, on the spot real quick. I'm going to do it to Ryan because I forgot to take a look at the points. Do you happen to have that? We can look at it real quick while we roll around this first lap. I'm a dummy. I didn't mention Tom Ogle. Obviously, I talked about he won. He did extend that gap. 17 points for JR. That battle for second, I mean, that's right on there. And, you know, I mean, we're not wishing it on him, but Tom Ogle, he could suffer unfortunate luck. And, I mean, that brings the rest of the field right back into this.
Absolutely. Every race counts, and you never know when you might have that bad race, and that could definitely bring that championship close together. And if it does, I mean, look at second place through fifth place, only separated by 8 points. So super tight race back there right now. Championship leader Tom, he's going to have to keep it in check and be clean, otherwise he could fall back into the clutches of all those other drivers that are behind him in the top 5.
And, well, you guys won't get this, but inside joke between me and the producer Ryan, I guess they were just cheap. They finally did turn on the lights here. We were worried in practice. It was about 7 o'clock almost local time on the sim time, and the lights weren't on yet. JR, Ryan and I were starting to panic here, but they finally got them on. And as the pace truck dives off, we've got 250 laps to play. Our A main is underway. JR, that's a quick start. I don't think a lot of those guys were ready for it. And frankly, I wasn't ready for it. As soon as that pace car pulls off, man, that thing went green. And look at the 60 of Neff. He had to dive down through the grass to avoid, but still gains a spot. I mean, that's almost Dale Earnhardt style, JR.
Yeah, these modifieds, they are super tough to handle when when the tires are cold. These cars, they have a lot of horsepower. They produce a ton, and they will slip and slide around this flat surface, and that's what you saw in that opening lap. Drivers trying to find that level of that level of grip that they have in the tires, and you see them, they're continuing as we watch on screen here. Alan Wanamaker, he's sliding around too underneath Negus, but Negus is the worst of the drivers so far. He qualified on the front row. He is falling way back.
Now, just to prove to you my ignorance here, JR, I'm going to feed you a softball question that I truly don't know the answer to. Now, as we come to these flat tracks like Langley is, I mean, little bit of banking. Do we expect more tire wear on the right front or the right rear tire as opposed to, you know, our typical bank tracks?
Yeah, it's a little bit different in every car. I think if you come here in the SK modified, you're going to experience more right front tire wear. In these tour mods, I think you're going to have to worry primarily on that right rear tire, and that's all about throttle control. I think the driver that is able to produce the best average speed around here during the run, as we see Tom Ogle going to the inside of Brian Neff, making that pass for second place. I think the driver with the best average speed throughout a run is going to be a driver that doesn't necessarily go full throttle at any point around this track, because it is that slick. You got to take care of that right rear tire.
Ooh, Brian Neff there, he gave up the spot. You know, it looked like they were maybe going to make a little contact coming out of 2, but Tom drove it in there deep into 3. Sealed it up, and then he blinked a little bit. And as I said that, he blinks again as Alan Wanamaker to the outside. Who's looking under him? That's the 7 machine of Chris Davis. Davis making that look pretty easy. Is next on his list is the double deuce Bruce Pearson. Bruce started 5th up to 4th, but definitely Chris Davis, the big mover right now, up 4 spots here early, JR.
Absolutely. He's moving forward quickly. And I think we're going to see a little bit of a game here. You talked about the 22 right ahead of him. I don't think Bruce is going to race Chris very hard here. Bruce is somebody that has a ton of experience on the short tracks, a ton of experience in the modifieds. He knows how to get the job done, but he does not lay down super fast laps early in the race. He'll take care of his equipment. And as long as he stays on the lead lap tonight, he's going to be one of those drivers in contention. On the meanwhile, we see Chris, he's trying to be aggressive and get to the front quickly, but got to be careful with that right rear tire like I talked about.
And if you're Bruce here, you don't want to put up too big of a fight, but looky here. I mean, here comes Alan Wanamaker, Scott Negus. I mean, we got a whole line coming as Bruce can't shut the door. The 9-ball is going to slot himself underneath, and JR, I mean, I know I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to panic because you tried to tell me about Bruce last week, and lo and behold, he finished on the podium. He's going to make sure, you're right, that he's there at the end, but man, I start to panic when I'm stuck on the outside and I'm going to lose 3, possibly 4 spots here early.
Yeah, and this is one of the worst tracks to be stuck on the outside. So if you get yourself in that position where you're just trying to let that car behind you go, you can find what happened to Bruce here, and you get freight trained by a lot of drivers down that inside line. And it's going to hurt your tires the longer you stay in that outside groove. There's less grip. It is slicker. Your car is going to move around. That's going to affect the tires, and the tire temps are going to go up. So the best thing you can do in that situation is to back off and try to find a hole to get back down to the bottom.
That's exactly what he did there. Liston tried to go around the outside coming off of 2 last time by, but he couldn't get it to stick. You saw the doors shut, and I mean, I guess JR, especially with these flat tracks, and I mean, we're seeing guys fan up as high as they can towards the outside wall. I mean, to get this thing done on the inside, I think that is the preferred line, but man, you're going to need a little respect out of that guy on the outside. If they pinch you down, if they don't let you float up, it's going to be tough to maintain momentum here.
It's going to be super tough because one thing that we haven't talked about or touched on yet is these Tour Modifieds. They get tight through the center of the corner at this place, so you will be a little bit free on entry, definitely free on exit as you throttle up, but through the center you get tight in general, and that's not a big problem when you're single file. But if you're that inside car in a side-by-side situation, it is going to be super easy to push up into that outside driver. And what I commonly see in that situation is the inside driver pushes up, makes contact, and it's the inside driver that ends up getting spun down toward the infield, not that outside driver. So very, very vulnerable. If you're passing somebody, you've got to recognize the situation and not overdrive the car.
And speaking of overdriving the car, Tom Ogle is right there. He almost got in the back of that 51 of Jerry Isaacs, but he able to whoa up the horses here. But Ogle is ready to go, man. And JR, we've got 22 laps under our belt so far, and I mean, we're about half a track away from coming up the lap cars here too. So it's a long, long way to go here. 250 laps, but already field really starting to spread out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're going around this place. 1 lap is less than 15 seconds. We see Ogle looking to the inside here, so
you can hear it in your voice.
I know. I was worried for a minute. So yeah, if you're Jerry Isaacs, I got to feel like Jerry is probably faster than what he's showing right now. But Jerry has been in past races one that will take care of his stuff. So he's not going to drive harder than he feels like he needs to right now. And this is a tough place to pass. So even though Tom's putting a lot of pressure on him, as long as Jerry maintains that line and gets a good corner exit, then it's going to be super tough for Tom to make that move. In the meantime, Tom is really working his car over, and that's what Jerry's hoping, is that at some point, Tom's rear tires are going to wear out and the handling is going to go away on that 13 car.
Yeah, and I think if you're Jerry, you have to assume that there's a mutual respect between you two because, I mean, as well as I do, JR, you've got to be comfortable with that guy behind you, especially if you're trying to pull the reins back and conserve while still maintaining track position. I mean, that's not easy to do mentally when, you got the guy behind you just picking away.
I cannot explain. It is super tough behind the wheel when you're in that situation. And the hardest thing is to not get yourself looking in the mirror. And I don't mean directly looking up into the mirror, but you see that car behind you going across your mirror in your peripheral vision, you've got to turn that off mentally and just focus on what you're doing, because it's so easy to see that car whip across your mirror, like I said, in your peripheral vision, and you make a correction, you get on the throttle too early, you turn in too early, something happens. So you've got to block all that out and just focus on what you're doing. And right now, Jerry's doing that. He's keeping his car low through the corners, and he's focusing on corner exits, so that's preventing Tom from being able to get closer.
Now, I don't want to, as they say, JR, count my eggs before they hatch here, or chickens before they hatch. But you're Ken Allen, last week you had a little bad luck with the fuel mileage. Right now, he's up 4 spots. Seems like he's got a, decent speed underneath him tonight, but it may take a little gamesmanship. What's the earliest you would think about coming in? Obviously, long way to go, but this does. I don't want to be that jinx, but it's got all the makings of one of those long green flag runs. So, do you try to maybe just a fuel only here as soon as you know you can make it, or, what are we playing here if we're stuck in the middle of the pack?
It's going to be a tough decision. Like you said, it looks like it has that green flag feel. A lot of that reason is because there's only 15 cars in this race. They're all kind of getting spread out right now, which means contact is less likely to happen. And these drivers all seem to have good enough control that I don't think we're going to see anything from a self-spin situation. So it's going to be tough. If you're somebody like Ken Allen or just slightly further back, I do think when we get closer to halfway that you'll see some takers start to come to pit road. Now, the problem is you lose tons of time. So if you do that, if you get committed to that strategy, you have to be willing to go multiple laps down and a caution come out that really messes you over, because you do not get lucky dogs in this series. So it's a very vulnerable position. I think it's going to depend, quite frankly, on where you are in points and how much risk you're willing to take. But if you do that at the right time and the race stays green, you will be faster if you're able to take at least right side tires during your fuel stop.
Also, this is another thing I should have been talking to the boys about before we rolled off, but it just kind of clicked in my mind. I know JR and obviously iRacing never going to be perfect. It's a great sim. We absolutely love it. But at the end of the day, sometimes when you get a little bit loose and you spin down into that green stuff in the infield, iRacing doesn't always throw a caution. Do you know? Is this one of those tracks where if we have a spin on the inside, we maybe got to worry about a caution not coming out here if the driver straightens it up and gets back on the track?
Yeah, this is most definitely one of those tracks that if you spin down toward the grass and you've got your full car in the grass, you're not going to have a caution come out. Now, if the driver happens to be turning around on that apron, getting back going as a car goes by, then the caution will fly. So we do have cars really spaced out, so there's a good chance that may occur. But if you spin by yourself down toward the infield into the grass, that caution will not fly. And you have to be, you have to recognize that, because we have seen in past races this season where cars return back to the track thinking that the caution is out, and it actually causes a caution or a big mess. So drivers have to remember that iRacing doesn't always recognize what should be a caution.
So they're listing, I believe that was listed. Was that Eric Essery who came up on him? It was. Just made the pass look easy. Liston not putting up much of a fight here. I wouldn't put him quite in the double deuce camp there, JR, but Liston another one who going to make sure he's got a little something left at the end. Not many people have the discipline of Bruce to just, kind of pace himself the way he does in the beginning. Liston normally goes a little harder, but he always saves a little something.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a smart modified driver as well, and he's had a good season up to this point. He's had some rough races as of late that have moved him down in the point standings, but he's only 20 points back from our points leader. Todd knows how to get up there and get the points late in the race, so I do expect to see him move forward as this race goes on.
Battle for 1, 2, 3. They have been like this for, let's say, 49 laps so far. They have just been bumper to bumper. Isaac's got out to a little bit of a lead, and then realized, hey, maybe I'm going a little too hard. Let those guys saw right back to him, and since then he's been able to hold this same pace. But as you can see off the front of Brian Neff, JR, there are those lap cars I was talking about. We're on lap 51, and we're going to have lap traffic here pretty soon.
We definitely are, and this is opportunities for these drivers that, are running second and third as we ride on board with Neff. As you approach lap cars, that disrupts the flow of the race. That's one of the advantages of being the leader of a race. You can kind of control the speed of the race, the flow, everything that's happening. But when you catch lap traffic, that disrupts that, and that gives the opportunities to those drivers behind. So definitely Tom and Brian, they're looking to take advantage of this once they catch this pack. And I can tell you, so I have seen Brian and Tom make some contact over the last 20 laps or so, and it's been incidental contact, but that incidental contact increases as you catch slower traffic, and it's very, very easy to get into somebody unintentionally and ultimately spin them. So this will be very tight as they approach that first pack, and I believe that's Chris Hazlett that they're catching right now.
And as you can see a little bit earlier when we were riding kind of on board with Brian, just the visibility in this car not there. And as you get closer to the lap cars, I mean, JR, you've got plenty of laps in these things, and you've talked about it throughout the year. I mean, he can barely see past that 13 spoiler when they're lined up. I mean, you're dedicated to that car in front of you.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing you can't see visibility-wise just because you got that big air cleaner in the center of the car, so that kind of limits your visibility out to the right. You're very low in the cockpit. This has a very low roof line, so you don't have a big window that you're ultimately looking out of. And at the end of the day, these modifieds are very large in the back of the car. They're sloped down in the front, but they're very large in the back. And as you're following somebody tightly, which you have to do if you want to try to make a pass, you do not have visibility past that car that's in front of you. So absolutely, when we're riding on board with Brian Neff earlier, you could not see Jerry Isaacs up ahead. It was just solely that car in front. So if there's a check,
there is contact. Yeah, there is that contact. Ogle saves it. No caution flag, and I'll tell you, Jerry Isaacs right now, he is just absolutely licking his lips, JR.
Yeah, that's the best case if you're the leader for the two guys behind you, to have something happen that slows them down tremendously. So right
Ogle
now,
coming down pit road. Tom Ogle's going to come down pit road. Maybe he thinks, hey, I'm just going to separate myself, get fuel, try to go the rest of the way. I mean, he needs to do something different now.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a bold strategy, but absolutely, if I'm going to pit this early, tires are not going to make a huge difference. I'm going to only get fuel, and
he's getting right sides. They're jacked up right now. Yeah, I'm scratching my head right with you, JR.
Yeah, I feel like that's
both
a risk.
Tires, all four.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I guarantee you, he forgot to click them. And oh man, this could be that axe here in the points.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely forgotten to unclick the tires, which is easy to do. But if you take all four tires, it takes so long to change these tires compared to something in the NASCAR ranks that you're going to go many laps down, 3-4 laps down, just getting that service performed. I think if you pitted at this point in the race, you only wanted to take fuel, which would only been 5 or 6 seconds probably to get you that fuel that you need to get to the rest of the way. And yeah, I think his night's going to be over here.
Yeah, I would have never thought. I thought he'd get out there. I mean, JR, we've had this discussion amongst ourselves, I believe, pre-races months ago, where I said, that's the trouble with me and being a points racer. When I have an incident, I necessarily don't pull back out there. And right now, Tom Ogle leading the points. Oh, man, this may have been a situation where I would have tried to continue. You never know what could happen. Obviously, probably not going to get back on the lead lap, if you get caught a lap down. But, you could always lose a couple guys to attrition.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely want to get back out there. I'm trying to look into the entry list that'll kind of show us, black flags, and it actually shows Tom Ogle with a meatball flag. So I'm not sure what created that. I didn't see any damage or any contact with an inside wall there, but something gave him a meatball flag. And I think that's why he ultimately decided to pull in and call it a night.
I wonder what that could have been. I mean, you wouldn't think the contact, I mean, as I look at it now, I mean, it's a little bit on the left rear. I don't know if, I mean, we see it in NASCAR all the time now, the tie rods on the rear end break, but I don't think we'd have anything like that there. That didn't look too bad.
No, definitely. It was, contact to that left rear, turned him sideways, and then ultimately had to go down on the apron to save it. And there is, a dip if you're on the apron in turn 4 on the front stretch. So there was a dip that he had to go into. I don't have much experience in this car down in that dip, so I don't know if that caused any kind of weird damage. But yeah, definitely one of those things that he did not expect to have happen here tonight, especially with a short field. You would think that if something was going to happen, you wouldn't be the last car in this race. But right now, that's where he sits, 12 laps down.
Now, obviously, right now, I mentioned Jerry, how he had to be licking his chops, but at some point here, he's stuck behind Jeff Lemire, who he does not have to, and if I'm him, I am not giving him, that spot. I'm not going a lap down, not when I can't get a lucky dog. But this has allowed Brian Neff to kind of bring that gap down to about 2 seconds, because we've talked about it so much, JR. He just got by Brian Johnson there. The lap cars are always nicer to the guy in P2 than they are to that leader.
Absolutely, and that's my experience. Jerry Isaacs gets loose coming off of turn 4. I think he was trying to get a run, and because this was on the front stretch, we do get that caution flag thrown because he came to a stop or a rest on that inside on the front stretch. But you could see him trying to pass Jeff here through 3 and 4, and I think ultimately Jerry just throttled up too much trying to get that run to the inside, and the car came right around on him. And we talked about this. This car has tons of power. It is so easy to slip that rear tire coming out of the corner, and that's what happened there. Just a little bit too much throttle.
And that's exactly why, Jeff, you don't give up the spot and you make the leader work for it. I mean, every time, I know this may be rude and may offend some people, JR, but if I'm about to go a lap down, that is what I'm dreaming happens. I mean, that is my ideal scenario. I'm saying, please spin out, leader, as you're trying to put me a lap down, and only 2 cars stay out here. Not to swap the subject, but oh man, I wonder if they can go the rest of the way. If so, those other guys, they may be in trouble.
Yeah, it's a couple of guys choosing to stay out. Everybody else looks like they've come down pit road, and I mean, we're on lap 79. I guess one of those,
sorry to interrupt you, JR, but one of those guys I should have noticed, Brian Johnson, he's a lap down, so only the leader stayed out. So I set you up there.
Nope, yep, you're correct. I see that. So, yeah, Neff was the only one that stayed out. Everybody else feels like this is a decent time, and I don't blame them. This is essentially a third of the way through the race, so it's not a bad time. Hey, you got to have fuel to be safe, so come in and get fuel, get some right side tires, have a little extra grip. And the bad news for Neff is I think Neff expected some guys to stay out and try to save the fuel, which he's going to ultimately try to do. And in return, that's going to put him at a disadvantage with old rubber. So this place is hard to pass. That newer rubber is going to allow you to stay down through the center of the corner, which is what you're going to start to struggle with as you get some tire wear and some heat into those tires. So I think Neff's going to be I think he's going to be in a little bit of trouble here when we go back green.
Yeah, that is not who I would want to be for sure, especially, I mean, we don't call Chris Davis Mr. Excitement there for nothing. I mean, he's going to make it exciting, and he's the guy behind you with fresh tires. I would assume Brian Johnson not going to put up too big of a fight here. As the lights are off, pace truck dives off, we enter the zone. Brian Neff gives us a late restart, kind of bunches the field up, works out for him. But looky there, Brian Johnson gets up and out of the way. Chris Davis, JR, he's ready to go play.
He is, and he's going to drive hard. We saw him come through the field early in the race on that fresh rubber, so he knows what he needs to do with that fresh rubber. Look how much he closed in on Neff through turns 1 and 2. That car is gripped up a lot better than the 60 right now.
Now, is there a certain Obviously, the grip's going to be there throughout the rest of the run. He's going to have better grip. But is there a window here before he really gets the tires too hot? You know, if he wants to strike, got to get this done, make it easy in about 3 or 4 laps?
I think Chris, I see him get loose fighting that wheel off of turn 4 there, but I think Chris is going to have a good 20 or 30 laps that he can run this car to have some type of advantage before it starts to level off. Neff, on the other hand, is only going to have a handful of laps before his tires come back up to temperature. And when it comes back up to temperature, that's when he's going to lose grip compared to Chris. So Chris is already appears to have more grip, but that advantage is going to become even more so in just a couple more laps.
I couldn't tell what happened, if Hazlip maybe had a little slip up or if he was late getting off pit road, but these guys are going to come up to the lipper here pretty soon, as you could just see that light blue car on the edge of your screen. Oh, as Neff gets a little loose there, we got a battle for the lead. Chris, he absolutely sent that thing in there. Look at all the room Brian gave him. I think Brian's as shocked as I am that Chris made that stick, and now he gets muscled up the racetrack. He is going to go from 1st to 5th in 1 lap, JR.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's how quickly it can happen. We spoke about how bad that outside line is. It's even worse when you get up into the marbles in the 3rd and 4th group. We see some marbles on our screen being bounced around just from him being up there, so there is absolutely no grip up there. You're never going to get the car to turn. And he kind of got muscled up there because he was trying to defend going into turn 3. So, yeah, right now Brian Neff is in trouble, and now that he's not holding this pack up, look how quickly they've started to pull away from him. I'm at this point becoming concerned that Neff is going to have a hard time staying on the lead lap if we go green.
Double E up there in P2, Eric Esser. I mean, he is all over the back of Chris, too. He has been driving it in deep on corner entry and trying to get back to him. And I just noticed, too, at the bottom of my screen there, JR, it said Liston disconnected, then reconnected. I wonder if he maybe had a little bit of connection issues. We'll call motor trouble, but Liston, he's on his way back in. He's going to try to get some valuable spots.
Yeah, Todd definitely, he has ground that he needs to make up in the points. He knows how important it is every single position. So he's going to get back in here. He's going to hope that some of these drivers go a lap down and he's able to take advantage of it. Probably going to have some cautions, though, for it to ultimately pay off. But you got to get in here and give it a shot. I mean, we're too early in the race to just walk away, lap 95 at 250. Got to get back in here just in case there's something big that happens and you can capitalize on it.
Yeah, and he pulls out on the racetrack. He's right in front of the leaders here, so I imagine he won't put too much of a fight up. You know, I think he's about, do some quick math here, 10 laps down. But, I mean, he's staying in the groove right now, and this could make it in. Oh, there we go. He got up out of the way, and now that is going to help Davis. But you can see Double E there. I mean, he's kind of pinched down coming off corner exit. Going to affect him a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to disrupt this pack for a little bit. I think once they all get sorted back out, the drivers will close back up, and you'll have that tight nose to tail feel, which ultimately leads to some contact. We see Eric there making some contact with Chris in the center of 1 and 2. And, you know, that's all you have to do to kind of rattle the driver. You can see Eric's doing a much better job of trying to come off the corner lower and straighter. And that gives him the potential to set up a pass. But right now, Chris is able to apply that throttle a little bit more and ultimately pull away. But if Eric continues to do this, he's eventually going to get into Chris's mind. And if you make contact like that, it's going to get into his mind a little bit more.
Yeah, and Negus gets in the back of him. He has to check up. Wanamaker goes to the outside. He's going to try to get it done the long way around. But he's got to go here. He's got to make the move or he's going to lose a couple. And JR, man, he thought he could take a bite of the apple, but
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a move you can make when there's a checkup. But like you said, you've got to get the move made down that straightaway or the next corner. If you don't do it, you've got to find a hole to get back down in line because the bottom is where all the grip's at. That's where it's going to be all night long. The outside just does not have any grip, especially in the higher power cars like these Tour Modifieds.
See Ken Allen brush the backstretch wall. Allen Wanamaker dove it in there, dove it in one more time. He gets that spot back, and Oh man, Allen, he's going to be thanking his lucky stars here. That could have been bad for him after he made the move to the outside, but now he gets a chance here to come back at him. And if you're Eric up front, JR, I mean, you've made the bump a couple times. You just haven't been able to run around him. I mean, what are you going to do here? You can't make the move to the outside. So not that I encourage, I mean, we both know there's a difference between bumping a guy and wrecking a guy, but at a place like this, you really do. You almost got to bump that guy out of the way, make him uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine with, doing some bumps occasionally through the center of the corner, letting that driver know, hey, I'm here. But ultimately, the biggest thing that Eric can do is what he's doing right here. I feel like if he continues to do this for 20, 30, 40 laps, he's going to eventually be able to make that pass. I feel like his exit of the corner is lower and straighter, and he's saving his tires by doing that. I feel like Chris Davis, he's kind of arcing it in, and then he's letting that car drift all the way out against the wall. I feel like that kind of movement is going to eventually get to his rear tires, and Eric's going to be able to make this pass. So I feel like Eric just needs to be patient, continue to do what he's doing, and one lap, he's going to be able to make that run and get to the inside of the 7 car.
Now, don't get me wrong, JR. I think, Brian obviously hung out there in the beginning, on this restart with the old tires. But do we think the fact that maybe everyone, came down, had new tires in, we know what it's like to get shuffled to the outside. We've seen everyone get in trouble. Do you think that maybe bluffs some people to where, hey, if we get a caution with 100 laps to go, maybe they think, hey, I get new tires, I can wind my way through the field, when in reality, it's just going to be so hard to pass that I think track position is going to be the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, racecraft comes into it. So ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to have good racecraft to be able to come through the field. So even if you have newer tires, 100-lap newer tires than the driver ahead of you, if you don't have good racecraft, you may not be able to make that pass. So that's something I always encourage the other drivers to study, those guys that are able to come through the field, see what they do and how they do it, and try to imitate it, because you're going to need that. And you're exactly right. I feel like some of these guys may go, hey, Neff dropped like a rock after being out there for 80 laps compared to the guys with new tires. I'm going to come in and get new tires, but they may not be able to come through the field. It is very difficult to pass on this track. You've got to be able to make moves and do something that's slightly different than that leader if you want to be able to pass them. So it's all up to your skill set and how comfortable you are with your racecraft. If you've got good racecraft, I would recommend coming in and getting tires. But if not, you need to capture that track position.
And, we had the one long green flag run, and who's to say here as we approach lap traffic again, we won't see a similar thing. I mean, Chris Davis definitely not going to slow down for lap traffic. He doesn't want to lose this spot. The double E here is Eric YesterYear all over the tail end. I mean, this gets you nervous. He's already made a couple bumps. I mean, if Chris has to check up here for a lap car, I mean, this could get nasty here.
Yeah, and this is when it happens. So these guys have kind of played nice because they've all been in clean air. They've been able to run at their pace. They're not doing anything drastic that's slowing them down on corner entry. But when they catch the lap traffic, that's going to disrupt that flow. And like you said, that first car, all it has to do is do something slightly different than what it's been doing, and that car behind not be able to check up. That's when it leads to contact. And if you get a whole line of cars like we had a minute ago, these guys are starting to separate a little bit, but if we get 4 or 5 cars all lined up, that contact, it's going to go all the way through the pack. It's going to accordion all the way through, and we could have a very big mess instead of just a single car wreck.
No, and let's be honest here. It's not that, you want to pound that guy out of the way, but when you're Eric and you've been running behind him stuck here for 20 so laps, I mean, that makes you a lot less likely to maybe full lift out of the throttle, JR, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the risk versus reward situation. You got to understand the situation you're in. If you're somebody racing for points, you're going to have to be willing to give more in an aggressive situation. If you're a driver that is just out here to get a win and go after it, you're able to be a lot more aggressive, because if you mess up and wreck, it's not a big deal to you. So definitely risk versus reward, all depends on who you are and where you're running.
Davis and Double E here approach Chris Hazlett. Hazlett going to hold his line for now, but I'm sure the Lipper, he'll get high and up out of the way whenever the time comes here. But this is almost one of those tracks where, not that, you want to block the leaders, but there you go. You see he goes to the outside. I mean, nobody really venturing up there, JR, and we haven't mentioned, we talk about it at a lot of racetracks. I mean, you go up there and you enter a little too hard on those marbles. I mean, you end up making yourself look dumb, and you end up taking out the leaders when you were just trying to get out of the way. So it's not like you can just adjust your race line totally. I mean, you have to make sure you have control.
Yeah, it's easy to say, well, he just needs to get out of the way sometimes, but Chris did a nice job there. He moved out of the leader's way into that second group, but he didn't go so high that he's up in the marbles, which leads to some mistakes happening when you're trying to get out of the way of the faster drivers. So Chris did a nice job there. He ultimately went high, gave him the inside line, but if you noticed, he didn't just back out of it too. He continued to run some pace, because if you just back out of it, that can create issues as well. So very good with what Chris did there, and I think that's what every lap car should ultimately do. Give the leader some room, but you don't have to completely get out of the way, and you don't need to do anything that's going to cause a bigger issue.
No, and, JR, while we've got this long green flag run and we have some time to BS here a little bit, it made me think, how he totally didn't get out of it there on the high side, and that's honestly something I've kind of learned from you here and the man in the back, Ryan Seneker. Maybe you can talk to us a bit about how, when you actually want to conserve the tires, maybe getting out of the throttle isn't completely. Obviously, lifting is important, but having that go fully down to 0%, sometimes that can upset the weight of the car and really affect tire wear that way, can it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, these tour modifieds, they've got so much power that they're an animal in themselves, but some of these cars, and it depends a lot on the setup and the track situation, track conditions, but a lot of these cars, and we see Eric, Eric's trying to make some moves on Chris here. He almost had that move to the inside. But back to the discussion with the car, definitely weight transfer plays a big part in how that car is going to handle and how well you're going to be able to stay in the fast groove of the racetrack. So sometimes you do not want to get all the way out of the throttle, because that transfers the weight faster than what you need. The car doesn't like it. The car gets upset on corner entry and either gets loose or wants to push up. So in a lot of cases, you're wanting to maintain some throttle. It may just be 5 or 10% throttle, but you want to maintain some throttle to keep your forward momentum going, to keep that car planted. And Eric is definitely looking to the inside in turn 3 and 4. He may have the move made. Now he's going back out of it.
Alan Wanamaker got the move done, though, right behind. He got around Negus. Negus had been pushing up the racetrack coming out of 2, as he did there once again. But he was lucky. He was able to slot in line in front of Ken Allen. Oh, boy, big slip up in Alan Wanamaker. He's going to try it again, JR, and I don't know if it's going to work.
Oh, that was a perfect move. He just got too high through 1 and 2. If he'd maintained, that second groove all the way through the corner, I think he would have had a great shot at it, had a good exit coming out. But ultimately, he didn't lose any positions, and you see Eric in front of him get loose. Alan's going to do it the easy way now.
Yeah, now if you're Eric, I feel like he did the right thing there, JR, right? You kind of take a peek in that mirror and you say, all right, I'm not going to race you. I need to get to the bottom. I mean, this could be bad. And, oh, boy, Ken Allen gives him a little contact in the left rear. Ken comes to a stop. And in JR, we are under caution. Lap 139. We're going to have, let's say, 107 laps to go when we get the green flag. We know one guy's got to pit. But are any other guys going to come down pit road with Brian Neff?
Yeah, definitely. We'll get a look at the replay here. So we're coming onto the front stretch. Ken Allen was behind Eric in that 37 car, and Ken does run unique lines. He was running the bottom of the track on the apron, and Eric was doing a little bit of an arc and diamond line moving up in the center of the corner, and on his way back down, Ken was there. So it's one of those situations where if you're Eric, you don't expect somebody to be running that low on the track, but if you're Ken, you see an opportunity to make a pass. So it's ultimately two drivers going for the same spot, not realizing exactly where each other were when the contact was made.
Everyone behind Alan Wanamaker came down pit road, and Brian Neff, if you notice, you're actually seeing it. car just got lifted. He overshot pit road. His pit stall. So he may lose a couple more spots than everyone else here. And that's another tough break for Neff, who just, man, this race has not gone his way tonight, JR.
No, definitely not. But there were a couple of drivers that stayed out on track. We do have Chris Davis and Alan Wanamaker. And even though they had speed through that run, I think that enough of these drivers behind them pitted that they're going to have a big enough advantage to be able to eventually make that pass. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to happen quick, but 20 laps into this run, I think that the grip level on their tires is going to be significantly less than the grip level of the cars behind them. So this is going to be tough. It'll be interesting to see how aggressive Wanamaker and Davis get, and how hard they try to make it on the others, because ultimately I feel like their best chance in this race is to have a lot of caution laps to keep the number of laps on the tires down so that there's no advantage to those drivers that just took the fresh rubber.
Yeah, some drivers, well, obviously we've talked about, you don't really have time for 4. If you want to do 4, you got to come in twice, and that's exactly what Scott Agus did. So he's going to start at the tail end, but he got all 4 tires to each trip here. As the lights are off, we enter the box. Chris Davis drops the hammer. We're underway. Alan Wanamaker caught napping a little bit. I thought Isaacs was going to make the move, but he pulled the reins on the horses there. And Jerry Isaacs, he's going to have to go here. He's going to have to take advantage of these new tires, JR.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got to get going. I do anticipate it's going to take a handful of laps, could be 4 or 5 laps, before he starts to see some type of advantage. That's why you're seeing Davis and Wanamaker be able to maintain that gap that they got. But you see right there, Davis is pushing hard, and he got loose coming off the floor. That's going to give Wanamaker that inside line. They're going to make some slight contact through the center, but Wanamaker has this pass.
Alan Wanamaker going to get it done, and now Davis stuck to the outside here. Isaacs going to get it done. He's got P2 at the line. Liston going to follow. Ken Allen right there in line, and oh boy, a little contact. Ken Allen then gets in the back of the 87, still able to get under the 7. They bounce off each other, and oh man, Chris Davis. Now another, JR, another 1st to 5th in 1 lap. I mean, we've seen it all.
Yeah, and it's brutal. If you're on the older tires and you get pushed up, you are going to lose all those spots. I mean, it happens when you have fresh tires, but it's even worse on those older tires. Right now, Wanamaker out front leading this race, he's at a big disadvantage on tires. He's going to be focused, or at least he needs to be focused, on keeping his car down as much as possible through the center of the corner. He does not want to get too wide. We see Liston in the background going up. He is one of those cars that's a lap down, so I think he's just getting out of the way from these other drivers that have caught him. But having said that, the driver that just went by Liston was Ken Allen. He's one that was involved in that last incident. He's up to 3rd.
Yeah, Liston threw me off. Davis didn't really go from 1st to 5th. He really only went to 4th. I was counting Liston in those cars. I forgot about the little internet issues he had, but hey, he's back and he's showing what could have been, JR. If not for the, the motor troubles. I mean, the 87, he had a quick race car tonight.
Yeah, and it's frustrating when that happens. I feel for him. I've been in that situation, and I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. When there's an internet issue that ultimately disconnects you from the race, you're done. So, yeah, I appreciate I appreciate him getting back into the race, trying to turn some laps, and trying to ultimately capitalize on someone else's misfortune tonight. But that is hard when you have an internet connection issue. There's nothing you can do about it. It's super helpless, and it's the equivalent of having a mechanical failure in real life.
Now, obviously, JR, I mean, much older tires there on the 9-ball out front. But if you're in that car, where do you need to set yourself up? You're not going to have that speed of the car behind you, but where do you need to make sure you are fast? I mean, you can't have it both ways. You're not going to be fast in and fast out on old tires. I mean, where do you need to defend here?
Yeah, in my opinion, you need to be a little conservative on corner entry. You got to make sure you keep that car down low and ultimately low through the center of the corner. And be careful not to get back to the throttle too early. I see him do it a little bit there. He's getting back to the throttle a little too early. It's pushing up on corner exit, and that's leaving the bottom open for that driver with the fresh rubber. So focus on staying at the bottom through the center of the corner and coming off low and straight. If you do that, that car behind you is going to have to work harder to make that pass.
Yeah, I mean, this is almost, I feel like when, you go go-kart with your little brother, you get out in front of him and you drag that brake a little bit, make sure he can't get by you. I feel like if you're the 9-ball, that's all you got to do. I mean, slower is not a problem, I don't think, when you're trying to just wrap the bottom. I mean, make that guy use his front bumper, but we do have a battle for the lead here. He gets under the 9-ball, and Jerry Isaacs, I think he's going to make pretty quick work here, JR.
Yeah, he's going to go by quickly for sure, and that's going to open the door up for Ken Allen back there, who was running third. And like we saw earlier, Ken is not afraid to run the apron. He's able to run that unique line, and that is an opportunity you have here at Langley. If you do something different than those drivers around you, you're creating an opportunity for yourself to be able to set up and make passes. Ken's been doing that most of the night. He's able to run lower than anybody through turns 1 and 2.
No, I would think here we still have 10 cars on the lead lap, I believe. Less than 100 laps to go now, JR. If a caution flag flies, I got to think it's kind of a run what you brung here situation. I don't think we're going to see many people go down pit road again unless it would be to repair damage.
Yeah, I agree with you in that aspect. I think track position's more important. Again, if you're somebody that is able to control the exit of the corner, I'm going to stay out and worry about, that exit of the corner and focused on what I need to do to maintain that. If you're some of these other drivers, though, that are back, 5th, 6th, 7th place, I might come in and get some tires. I might come in and get some right side tires and take advantage of these guys that are struggling a little bit. It may not be a winning call, but it may get you up there on the podium.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen now, I kind of good at, Ryan can laugh at this. I jinxed Tom Ogle for the good on Sunday. He was out front. I said, man, he's saying caution, caution, caution. And literally, JR, as soon as I say it the third time, caution flag flies, and Tom Ogle traps a couple guys a couple laps down, wins the race at Bristol. And now tonight I talk about, could have bad luck. And, I mean, really, Ryan, pull up the points here while we're green flag racing. I mean, this is going to be, they're right back in it. Where is Brian? Brian Johnson not having the best race, but Ken Allen right now, JR, P2. He's going to be right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And believe me, Ken Allen is smart enough to realize that. And that's one of the reasons why he's been a little aggressive tonight, running the lines that he's running, trying to make the passes, because he wants to go out there and get this win. He wants to capitalize on Tom's misfortune and get the most points that he possibly can to close that gap up. If he's able to win that race, we'd essentially have a lock, toward the top of the points. And that's going to pull what we talked about during the opening. The top 5 drivers are essentially going to be super close when we leave here tonight if we stay the way that we're racing.
Yeah, especially with Johnson and Liston having a little trouble too. Negus right now currently running 9th. Oh, man, we were almost 3 wide right in front of Negus. Liston went to the outside. I believe that was Essery and Childs who had a little battle going on their hands. They caught lap traffic at a bad time, but Essery going to look down one more time. He is trying to get by that Tonka number 5.
Yeah, and this is where we start to realize which drivers have kind of been just riding, taking it easy, saving their stuff, being a little conservative, and which ones haven't been. But we're seeing, you talked about Eric. He wasn't being super racy earlier in the race. Now he's trying to make some passes. We're seeing some of these other drivers like Ken Allen being aggressive, trying to make passes. They realize that we are coming to the end of this race. Now is the time to get the job done. If you've got anything left, any kind of pace or speed left in that car, you need to go get it, because the pay window is getting ready to open.
No, and I feel like, not to put extra pressure on Brian Neff here, but he's got to be feeling it the most, because Davis, He is struggling right now, JR. He is really falling off Alan Wanamaker. I mean, he's 3 seconds behind. And if you're Neff, I mean, you're looking at that clock. There is not a lot of laps left here. He has got to get by him if he wants to go up there and battle for the podium.
Yeah, absolutely. Neff had speed in the early going of this race, first half of the race. Oh, and we see the contact. He's just going to boot him out of the way. So at some point, you got to go. Like when you know that you're faster than that driver in front of you and they are holding you up, you've got to go. So that's where some of that frustration was. I talked about it in the opening also. This is one of those tracks that leads to drivers being frustrated, and it can potentially lead to a very long night for yourself if you get yourself in a bad situation with another driver. So Chris Davis doing a decent job hanging on to that car and ultimately not creating a mess there.
Yeah, that's one of those, JR. You blocked me on, lap 50, heck to, lap 150. I'll have a smile on my face. I'll laugh about the way you're driving, to be honest. But you do it with 100 to go here. In this 250 lap race, I am going to use that front bumper, and that is exactly what we saw. And we've seen Neff now. I mean, even from Bruce Pearson, who got around, he has checked out. Brian Neff is trying to get up into this battle for the podium, but Jerry Isaacs right now feeling no pressure up front. Ken Allen about a second off of him, and Alan Wanamaker about 2 seconds back. So, I mean, unless something, spicy happens here, JR, we may be looking at our podium.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as long as we stay green, those drivers running in the top three will finish there. Now, I'm not completely locked in on the order that they will finish because the one thing we don't know is how hard these drivers are pushing. I do know some of these drivers, they're pretty smart. Ken Allen, I've seen him in multiple series, league races where he's able to save his stuff and get up there. So if he's saving anything for a late run, that's going to present an opportunity. And this is the best chance to do it because, like you said, everybody is spaced out. You can run the line you want. You can run the pace you want. There's nobody pushing you or causing you to do something that you don't want to do. So ultimately, we will see who has the best control of this car, the best handle on it, and who takes care of those tires so that they have something when we get toward the end of this race in about 50 laps.
And I had mentioned, no lucky dog. We've talked about it all season, JR, but Negus, he came down that extra time for the left side tires and had to start at the tail end. He has worked himself up to 6th. Now, I know obviously some of those lap cars are going to make it easy on him, but JR, the guys he's been passing back here, they came down for right sides. I think it makes it all the more impressive. I mean, Negus may click off another couple spots here before this thing's over.
Yeah, I think as, if this stays green and we get this full run raced out to the end of the race, Negus will have the advantage because he's going to have the ultimate grip from both sides of the car. Those drivers that came in and took right side tires, it probably freed their car up, which is going to pay off early in the run. But as we get into this run, 50, 60 laps in, that car is going to start to move around more and more, especially through the center of the corner or entry to center of the corner. And as that movement happens, you're not going to be able to hold that car in the groove or the racing line that you need to. And that's where Negus is going to have the advantage. So I don't think he was in any kind of a hurry to come through the field. I think he's being super patient. But as we get down to the closing 20 laps or so, that's when I think Negus is going to have a clear advantage. And he may even have enough pace to chase down, say, Brian Neff.
Now, obviously, you never want to overdrive the car as Negus goes. He makes the move here. That's what I was going to say. I'm kind of in Team Negus here. I'm not sure. Oh, no, as he makes a little contact now. Double E gets by both of them here, and now he keeps himself in the spot that I was going to talk crap on, JR, because hear me out for a second. When you were out there racing, did it ever go through your head at a race? Oh, as Alan Wanamaker gets in the wall, he's going to lose 3rd, and Brian Neff now is on the podium. Let's see what happened to the 9-ball. Just gets loose, ramps over the grass.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, that happened before turn 3. He's going down the backstretch. Maybe he got loose. I don't see him really correcting the car, and I almost wonder if he had some type of weird issue, a wheel issue or something that went wrong, because not only did he do it there, but he did it coming off of 4 too, when he could have very easily collected it up. So Odd situation, but I've seen stranger things in iRacing.
No, and I don't think enough can be said there about those guys avoiding him getting back up on the track. That could have been bad there. It was a good job getting out of the way by Double E and Negus. That could have been nasty. But so like I was saying, JR, here as we close down, we're still in the point where if we'd have a caution, going to be a double file restart. I bring that up because obviously inside line favored. If you're sitting in, fourth, sixth, I mean, Ken Allen can't do much unless you get to the back of the leader, but are you panicking? I mean, a late caution here, you could lose a couple spots just based off of where you're restarting.
Yeah, you potentially can, and I think, saw Negus get hard into the
Yeah.
So Negus, I think, is a little bit in panic mode. He knows he's lost some time, so he's trying to dig very hard right now. But yeah, definitely, I think when it comes down to the restart, it's going to depend on which. Oh, we got a caution that's out on the Speedway, and
Rory Collins in the 62 machine sitting on the inside there, coming out of 4, JR. Let's see if we can figure out what happened here.
Yeah, well, we see him going into turn 3. I saw the car bobble a little bit on entry. He touches the apron. I think ultimately he was a little bit free getting in. He kind of bobbled by touching the apron through the center, and I think he was just getting out of the throttle, letting the car collect itself. Wasn't doing anything crazy.
Everyone coming down pit road. I don't mean to interrupt you, JR, but this is crazy. Everyone coming down pit road.
Yep, that's not exactly what we expected at this time. We thought somebody might stay out, but yeah, on the replay there, you can see Rory Collins. He's kind of moving around. He's kind of letting the car correct itself and get settled back in, and Todd was not expecting that at all. And we see, like you said, on pit road, Ken Allen's going to be the first one off, and Negus came off second. So we got a huge mix-up here.
Isaac's getting 4 tires. There is no way Isaac's meant to get 4 tires. He's going to come out P8 here, JR. That is a huge bungle there from the pit call.
Yeah, I've got to think that you would be comfortable with never taking left side tires at a track like this with this car. But I don't have tons of laps in the most recent build with this car, and the advantage you have when you come to pit road is that you can look and see what your tire wear is. I have no idea what the tire wear is showing for the left side tires. Maybe Isaacs felt like he had enough tire wear on that left side that he needed to take it, but based on what we've seen in this race, I don't see that being a huge advantage.
No, and while it won't be a huge advantage here, JR, there definitely is a slight advantage to that 29 of Scott Negus, who, remember, he did take those left side tires about 50 or so laps ago. So Negus here with the fresh rights. And I said a double file restart. We're old school. This is single file. What was it? You should have told me to shut up, JR.
I was playing along with it, but so you talked about Negus. He took the 4 tires on that last round. If you were going to take 4 tires, absolutely back then would have been the time to do it. That gives yourself the situation that Negus was in here, where he could come in and take only right side tires, leapfrog some people in position, and have the best left sides out of the group. So I didn't expect him to be able to come out in second place. I think some of the other drivers must have had some issues getting into their pit box, losing some time there. But Negus is in a great position because he does have the freshest tires out of everybody on the track.
Well, pace truck pulls off here. Ken Allen drops the hammer, and Negus, he's got to go to work here. Not a lot of time to play here, JR. 45 laps to go.
Yeah, now is the time where you run hard. I don't see any reason to be conservative. You've got to go as hard as you can.
Brian Neff got a black flag there. Not too sure what happened at the start of that race, but Neff gets a black flag, and his chances are now done, JR.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've got a pit, you're going to go a lap down. We see him right now with that pass through. He's going a lap down, so he will not be able to contend. You see up front, Ken Allen and Scott Negus both pushing super hard. They're getting onto the throttle harder than they have all race coming out of the corner, and in return pushing up into the wall onto the straightaways. So it could be, this could come down to a game of which driver does not push the hardest. and is able to capitalize on the mistake of the other. But that brings me up to another point here at Langley. It is so easy to get into the wall on the straightaways. The wall creeps up on you. You come out of the corner, you feel like you've got all the room in the world, and then all of a sudden you're into the wall on the straightaway. So these drivers, they have to recognize that, keep that in their mind, and don't overdrive the car. The worst thing you want to do is get some right front suspension damage this late in the race.
Yeah, and from what I'm seeing out of the 29 machine there in P2, it looks like to me, JR, he is overdriving that thing. I mean, we're seeing him gain corner entry, and he's just sliding up the racetrack so hard coming off the corner that he's got to crack the throttle a little bit. While that may reward him with speed right now, I just don't know here 5 or 6 more laps of sliding those right side tires like that. And man, that handling might go away as you see pushes up one more time. He's got to lift down.
Yeah, absolutely. These two are going at it, but that's exactly why you don't want to get into the throttle too early and allow that car to push up on corner exit. You're sliding the right front tire across the track. That's going to overheat that tire. And in return, you're not only going to lose grip on exit as you're getting onto the throttle, you're going to lose grip right where you need it, and that's through the center of the corner. If you lose that grip, you're not going to be able to set up a pass on that driver in front of you. So got to recognize what's going on. Do not get back to that throttle too early. Make sure that you're keeping that wheel as straight as possible as you're applying that throttle. That's the best way to keep the tires underneath you and to carry speed throughout the rest of this run.
If you're Eric YesterYear, you're starting to reel in Negus a little bit, but you see that 7. He's appearing a lot closer in that mirror. I mean, he's getting put in a tight spot there, as you see, he had to check up. Chris barely checks up in time. I mean, this is where maybe the caution flag ain't done flying yet.
It's very possible, and this is where when you're, Eric in the middle there, or even Scott, you're in an uncomfortable situation because Chris Davis is going to push hard. He does not have to worry about anybody passing him. He is only focused on making passes, so he is pushing the 37 car as much as he can. We've seen contact through the center of the corner. In return, Eric's going to want to start pushing himself and getting into the back of Scott Negus, so this could lead to some bumper tag contact that ultimately results in multiple cars going around, which would completely shake up the running order once again.
We're seeing Eric drive it in there deep. I mean, he was right on the back of that 29 in the center of the corner, and all it takes is, Chris driving it in a little deep like that behind him, and I mean, you hit one, you may hit the other, and I mean, boy, oh boy, that'll be a parking lot there through the center of the corner is with not a lot of banking. I mean, Chris may find himself involved in it here, so he's got to be careful. You can't be too aggressive, even though you want to get on the podium.
Yeah, it's a balancing act throughout the whole race. You've got to ultimately stay close like Chris is to that car in front of you if you want a chance to make a pass. But in return, if there's any kind of checkup in front of that driver, you're probably not going to see it in time and be able to get checked up to where you're not involved in whatever's happening. So right now, you see Eric in the 37. He's making a move on Scott Negus. He has gotten to the inside. So like you talked about, Shaggy, I think the 29 kind of wore his stuff out during that run, pushing hard. Right now, Ken Allen's looking great.
Yeah, Negus not able to get down and shut the door. Davis gets in there, but he couldn't grab the throttle. But, Negus, he doomed himself. Picked it up a little early there, JR. Had to lift, and Davis right back to the inside, and he gets it done at the line. Move Chris Davis up into the podium, but no, oh man, I thought Negus was going to go through him.
Yeah, that's definitely a crossover move that you can do at Langley, but you got to have that cooperation of the driver ahead of you. Chris wasn't going to have any of it, so right now that top 3, they've kind of spread themselves out. At the same time, they have caught Chris Hazlett at the back of the field. Chris is going to go wide, so he's being smart once again, letting these leaders have their own race.
Jerry Isaacs, the man who we saw take 4 tires there. I'm watching him try to make a pass on the outside of Torrance Childs. Couldn't do it. He got a good run through 3 and 4 and looked to the outside, JR. It was pretty unbelievable. Couldn't get it to stick, though, through 1 and 2. And we're seeing that 4 tire advantage just not there. And, man, he is going to be wondering, what if I only took right sides here tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a tough one to swallow for him. I know he's going to be pretty frustrated. And we talked about it. It is so hard to make passes at this track unless you have a huge tire advantage. So even though Jerry has been one, if not the fastest cars here all night, he's struggling to get through the field. He's back in 7th place. And yeah, like you talked about, Torrance Childs, Bruce Pearson right in front of him. He's not able to get the run he needs to make those passes.
And your leader, Ken Allen, last time by, got loose coming off a Ford JR. And he did a good job of woeing that thing down and slowed it down on the bottom and said, Eric, if you want to go to the high side, go for it. He tried to over-under him, couldn't do it, and that was some great defensive driving from Ken Allen, who right now it looks like, I mean, he's quick there through the center of the corner, but maybe cutting down, burning up his tires a little bit. He's good through 1 and 2, but it just seems like Double E gets him back through 3 and 4, and as we start to wind down, 18 laps to go, we may still have a battle for the lead before this thing's over.
Absolutely. You talked about the difference in the corners. You see Eric looking to the inside. These 2 corners, they look the same from our aerial view, but they are not. Yeah, and Eric is to the inside making that pass on Ken. Ken's going to try to do an over-under a little bit, but he's just not able to get the tires to grip up so he can turn down the track. He just does not have the grip.
Man, Double E makes the move with 16 laps to go, and I don't think he's led a lap all night, JR. What a time to take the lead. As we've mentioned, 15-second lap times. We're clicking off 4 of these in a minute. I mean, this thing stays green. He's only got to hold on for 5 more minutes, and he's bringing home the checkers.
Yeah, that was a huge power move by Eric there, so he's showing that he has great car control, because I'm telling you, if you get back to the throttle wide open in this car, it's going to go all over the place. You're going to spin yourself out. I felt like from the beginning that if you were a car that could go partial throttle from the exit of the corner all the way down the straightaway, that might be better. And if you look at how Eric's driving, it looks like he's got to be doing something similar to that, because I do not see that car bobbling any at all. And that's ultimately what paid off for him. Everybody else driving hard, using their stuff up. He just stayed consistent, running the exact same thing every lap.
Man, that 29, he found a heartbeat again here, JR. He's been able to get back to the rear bumper of the 7 of Chris Davis, and he'd like to get himself on the podium. He needs the points here, but he is running out of time. I mean, we're coming to 11 laps to go. He's going to have to make a move here. He looks to the inside, but can't get there. Jerry Isaacs, look, he's going to get a spot on the double deuce.
Yeah, Jerry's moving up as well. He's now inside that top 5. And you talked about Negus that's up ahead of this group. Negus is continuing to try to work over Chris Davis. And I think he's going to be able to make that move if he can keep himself calm, because I do see Davis overdriving corner entry a little bit, and it could be more of a issue with the grip level going away in his car. He's just not able to hold it down on corner entry consistently, where I see Negus able to do that, and that's where Negus can really make up some ground and get that pass made on the exit of the corner.
And Negus able to clear that lapper right at a good time, able to float up coming off corner exit. That could have really affected him, and right now with 8 laps to go, really 7 this time by as we roll through 3 and 4, time not on the 29 side, but it is on the side of that 37, who has walked out to almost a 1.5 second gap here over Ken Allen, who is trying to hold off Chris Davis now.
Yeah, Ken is definitely falling back from our leader. He's struggling, and that has closed up the gap between himself and Chris Davis and Scott Negus. Now these guys are running nose to tail. If Davis is going to try to make a pass, there's probably going to be some type of contact made, because Ken Allen knows he's got to keep his car down to the bottom, and at some point Chris knows he's going to have to go or he's going to get passed by Scott. So I see this being the area that we need to watch in the closing laps. There could be something wild happening right here.
4 laps to go this time by as you're watching that battle for second. Negus has kind of fell off a little bit, maybe hoping Davis makes a move here and he can snooker them both here, because, I mean, we've seen it happen, JR. I mean, a little bit of contact, and I mean, Negus decides to chuck him out the window. I mean, he maybe can get 2 on the high side. Is Davis, can he get underneath here? It's going to be close. He's going to send it.
Yeah, he's going to send it, and Negus needs to try to get there to capitalize on this. Oh, they make some contact on corner X. That closed everybody up, but Negus was not able to get there. He is going to start to look to the inside of Mike Allen, and he's just not going to be able to get it done. Excuse me, Ken Allen.
As Double E rolls off a 4, white flag waves, 1 lap to play here. He rolls the bottom through 1 and 2. The battle behind has calmed down for the most part. As Eric rolls through 3 and 4, he is going to grab a checkered flag for the first time this season, followed by Chris Davis. And Ken Allen holds on to that final podium spot. Man, JR, I'll tell you, I'm an honest man. I thought we were due for some more cautions than this, but three pretty long green flag runs mixed with, I believe, just the 2 cautions. I mean, what more could you ask? Langley produced here tonight.
It was a pretty calm race, and ultimately, I think the driver that kept himself calm the most is the one that we see sitting here in victory lane, because we saw Eric throughout this race. We saw where he was running up toward the front, but we didn't talk about him a whole lot, and that's because we didn't see anything exciting or crazy coming from him. He's the one that went up there and took that lead at the end of the race, and he did it in the cleanest way possible. So big move by him here. I think everybody's going to look a little differently at Eric moving forward in this series.
Yeah, they need to, because, I mean, you called it a power move when he did it, and it was clean. I mean, he just drove right by him, set him up, and got it done there with 16 laps to go. But we're going to take a short break here on the Virtual Grip Network, and we'll be right back with your interviews of your top 3 and your final rundown. Stick around. We're back live on the Virtual Grip Network, and we just witnessed 250 laps here in Virginia. I believe only those 2 caution flags, 3 long green flag runs, and JR kind of mentioned it there. We'll have to keep an eye on this guy going forward, but Eric YesterYear, Double E. I mean, let's be honest, JR, none of us were going to pick him to win tonight. What a surprise.
Yeah, huge surprise, but I think it just goes to show you how he was patient throughout the race and kept himself calm, while other drivers kind of let the frustration get to them that we talked about. And I feel like that's where ultimately some mistakes were made. We saw some mistakes made on pit road, and Eric didn't make those mistakes. So at the end of the day, when you come into a series like this where you have 250 lap races, You have the old series rules of no lucky dogs. You've got to be there. You cannot make mistakes, and he pulled it off. So, yeah, absolutely. I think drivers are going to completely look differently on him moving forward, and I think he's earned a lot of respect, in my opinion, tonight.
Well, let's go ahead and, well, never mind. Let's pull up the finishing order first. I was going to say, let's pull up Ken Allen here. Third place finisher. I'll get a little bit ahead of myself here. Double E coming home with the win there, and obviously, I think one of the more impressive parts of that, JR, before we do the rundown, I mean, 1.4 seconds. And if you remember, he took the lead with 16 laps to go. I mean, that's all the more impressive. That's man, you are going to have to keep an eye on this guy. But Chris Davis coming home P2, Ken Allen third, Scott Negus fourth, Jerry Isaacs fifth, Alan Wanamaker sixth, Bruce Pearson seventh, and Torrance Childs, the last car on the lead lap, coming home eighth. Jeff Lemeyer ninth, and Brian Johnson rounds out the top 10.
Coming home in 11th place tonight, we got Chris Hazlip. He was 4 laps down ultimately. Brian Neff, one of those contenders early in the race, he'll come home in 12th. Rory Collins come home in 13th place tonight. Todd Liston in 14th. And Tom Ogle, we saw the troubles he had early in the race. Only got about 60 laps in. He will come home in 15th spot tonight. Bad night for him.
Let's go ahead and bring up the third place finisher here, Kenny Allen. Get a word with him. Ken Allen, Shaggy in the booth, man. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, you know, it's one of those things where you needed to be on the bottom, and we saw you struggling late with tires, but as soon as Double E got under you there, I mean, you just weren't able to shut the door, and Chris kind of snookered his way around you. But, I mean, you definitely had a quick race car all night. What could you have done different to try to bring home that checkered flag?
To be honest, when Tom fell out of the race, it became a points night, and a lot of things fell my way to get to the lead. You know, Brian was super fast and had trouble. You know, Jerry again was really fast and had a pit road gaff, and Eric and Chris were quick all night. I mean, everybody in front of me was quicker than me all night. Just the luck was on my side for tonight.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you need the luck, and I mean, when you're smiling and happy about a third place finish, I mean, you can just hear it. It definitely was about the points. We kind of highlighted that. I mean, you obviously don't want to relish, you know, in Tom's bad run, but man,
no,
when that happens, I mean, you know, do we get a smile? Do we know, hey, you know, I just got to go out here and keep this thing clean tonight?
Yeah, when he said his engine blew, I thought, okay, well, I'll just keep it. Even at that point, I was running 7th. It's like, man, if I just run 7th and maybe cut the point lead in half, that's a bonus for the night. And you know, like I said, things just kept falling my way throughout the race to move me up, and it just tickled with getting out here with a podium.
Well, you know, not very good at math, but the points definitely will be a lot closer here when we roll into the Oxford Plains Speedway. I mean, how are we feeling going 200 laps next week? I think
I absolutely love Oxford. I love Oxford, and in a tour modified, it's even better. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, hey, Kenny, we're looking forward to talking to you again next week. But before you get out of here, man, you probably got some people you want to thank. Go ahead, hit us with it.
I'm going to thank Alan, my tour maker teammates, Scott, Alan, Torrance, Chris. You know, we talked all day what the strategy was going to be today, and in a way it kind of fell out that way. And again, you know, Alan, all the work he does, and big congratulations to Eric on his first win, and a shout out to Chris. You know, he showed up at the last second and puts it in P2. So you got to give him some credit for that.
Yeah, well, definitely a lot of good racing out there, Kenny, and you were a big part of it. Good run tonight, man. Can't wait to talk to you again.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Kenny Allen bringing home P3. Now my man JR is going to talk to the guy who brought home P2.
Absolutely. Hey, Chris, man, congratulations on that second place run. Wanna have you walk me through the closing laps in that race. You guys got that late caution. Everybody pretty much decided to come in and get tires. What were your thoughts at that point? Did you think you were going to be able to move through the field a little bit and get one of those top spots?
Yeah, well, you know, JR, I'll just say I have to thank having followed you a lot at Langley. But I felt like my line and the way that I was driving the car, I was messing around with brake bias a bit. I just didn't feel like I was using up my tires as much, JR, and I noticed that because on the very first run from the very beginning, I didn't qualify as well as I had hoped, so it took me a little while, and then I wasn't really catching the lead pack until, I don't know, maybe it was 40 laps in, and I'm like, wow, these guys have already burned up their stuff. Is at least what it felt like to me, and maybe that's because we were racing side by side earlier, I don't know. So I felt like I could do two things with my tires. One, not burn them up as much, and number two, I felt as though when they did start to wear off, maybe because of my dirt background, I was going to be able to drive the car better as they wore out and got loose. But there is a point of no return, and I would say if I could do anything back, I would change which lap I led. I forgot you're supposed to lead that last lap. That's important.
Yeah, that's the hard one to get for sure. Some of the stuff you were saying there about the car handling. Talk us through how this car was handling through the race, and did that handling change? And what were you struggling with, or what did you like that the car had in it?
Yeah, good point. Because I don't think I really completely answered your question there. So on that last pit, what I was noticing is you could definitely get the right rear angry. You could get a little upset, and that'd be okay. But if you got it angry, that was disastrous. And then in 1 and 2, if you tried to come all the way down to the grass, like really cut the inside, the car would push coming off. And the last thing I wanted to do was bang that right front off the wall. So I'd sometimes back it off a bit. What I was finding was I would have more rear brake when the tires were fresh. And then as the tires would wear out a bit, I would start moving it back to the front as the rear was getting loose, and adjusting the line a little bit. But the biggest thing, do not spin the tire coming off the turns, and I was playing some defense as well when I was on older tires, and, people would catch up to me. I wasn't not going to block, but I'm also not going to move over for you. And, I had a big grin on my face every time I would hear the car behind me get loose. So that was really my strategy, just try and have other people use up their stuff. And thought I was going to have something there for Eric at the end, just couldn't get past Kenny fast enough, and I did bump him, and I feel bad about that. Don't like to move people, but Mr. Aggressive did 250 laps without a single incident there.
Nice job in that department. I like hearing you talk about having to use the stuff that you do have in the car, the brake bias, changing how you're driving the car throughout a run. That's cool to hear, and that's something that I try to preach to some newer drivers that are on the service, to not just stick with the same thing lap after lap. But I want to get you out of here on this one. Next week, Tour Modifieds, this series, we're going to Oxford Plains. Probably going to drive similar to this track, maybe a little more aggressive, but 250 laps there. What are your thoughts?
My thought is there's a whole lot more asphalt at Oxford Plains than you ever want to be using. And that's my thought. And it's so easy to see all that asphalt and think you can go screaming down the straightaway, and you can, but you're going to miss that inside line. I haven't been at Oxford for a while. I'm remembering that there's a yellow curb on the inside that if you get it just right, it can help you turn, but a fraction too much, and a good chance that around you go, or it'll bounce and you'll push right off of where you want to be on the groove. So kind of looking forward to that track. I think you're right, JR. I think it's going to be the same thing. I think there's going to be some brake bias messing around with. We'll see what we can do there. I've had fun there, but you can get cleaned out from behind too. So hopefully we keep it all clean, come home in one piece, and maybe remember which lap we need to lead in that one.
All right, man. Hey, Chris, congratulations on that run tonight, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you a little bit more next week.
I hope so. Thank you, guys. You all be well up there. Thank you, Lowell, for putting on this league. I'm sorry, for putting on BGN. Wanamaker for putting on the league. He does a phenomenal job. I love the history behind it. He was giving us drops to documentaries and things like that. Just obviously really passionate about short track racing, and that's just so wonderful to see. So we need more of that. So thank you guys for all that you do up there in the booth.
All right, man. We appreciate it. Hopefully we'll talk to you more next week, man. All right, Shaggy. That's Chris Davis. He's our second place finisher tonight. Who you got now?
I got the man I've been calling Double E, Eric. How am I pronouncing your last name first off? Is it YesterYear?
Yeah, that's close enough. I believe that's how you do it.
Okay, cool deal, cool deal. Well, Double E is going to be a little easier, and I'll tell you, the way you conserve tires to take the lead with 16 laps to go, man, and win by 1.6 seconds, I mean, you're going to be on, you got the league on alert here the rest of the way out. I mean, how'd you do that?
I mean, that last run, I was talking to Chris there in the staging area, but I just feel like that last run, the seas sort of parted. It seemed like the guys I was around racing we kind of missed the corner. I think a couple of guys got together, no Bruce, and a couple of guys there right in front of me, and just, it was just opening the door, and then I needed a caution, and it came out right when I needed it, and I think Jerry may have accidentally taken 4 tires instead of 2. And then I think Kenny might have been on old tires on the end. So it seemed like I was driving up through there, but I mean, it really was, the seas just kind of parted. If this was a 500 lap race, I would just led that segment and somebody would have probably come out in front, on the next stop or whatnot, but it just kind of worked out.
I don't know what it felt like in the car, but up here, it seemed like I was almost, calling a NASCAR race there with the stage brakes. It seemed like the cautions fell at, opportune times where you guys could go in, kind of make get those right side tires if you felt like it in the car. I mean, did they fall at the right time for you? It just seemed like, it spaced the race out almost perfectly.
Yeah, I got to skating pretty wild, right as the caution come out, which I think that's why the caution do come out. Is somebody's just on the edge and they push it. I didn't see why the cautions did come out, but I assume that's what it is, and you just get a little bit chaotic on the track. And even that last couple of laps, I don't know if you could tell, but there was a few times off of 4 just coming to the white. Particularly, I felt the back end just wanting to rotate around on me, so I just sort of idled it around the last couple of laps. So yeah, I think you're right. The cautions did just fall about the time everybody's tires were getting crazy.
My partner Jim mentioned there's some guys who maybe you're not full throttle the whole way around, just kind of conserving tires. You one of those guys tonight, because it just seemed like that thing was rolling so smooth that it didn't look like you were ever, hammered down, really spinning too bad coming off.
Well, I think because I'm fairly new to this car, and I don't really know what to do with it. I kind of go midway. Just I don't want to be the guy losing it in front of everybody. So another thing was I was in traffic most of the time, and so there's no reason to dive bomb in the corner and use them up. Just kind of ride, and in a way that conserved. Whereas if you're out front in the top 2 or 3 spots, you're just you're pushing all the time just to keep track position. So I think there is a benefit to just kind of being in the pack sometime.
Well, you're able to climb up through there, get the first win of the season, and next week we roll into the Oxford Plains Speedway. How are we feeling about Oxford? Do you think we can go for the back-to-back here? Similar racetracks, much wider though.
Yeah, I haven't been there since back when I ran Legends cars, when iRacing was fairly new and you had to run those Legends cars just week after week because they wouldn't let you drive anything else. So I haven't been there in so long. I don't usually do the little short tracks. So Langley's the smallest I've seen, so yeah, I know the track though, and it is kind of a circle, seems like, and probably similar to this with the sweeping corners. And I do feel like I don't want to say I'm good at them or whatever, but I kind of understand them a little bit. Where some tracks kind of go to, I'm lost just riding around. But those flat ones that have the sweeping corners, I just try to narrow the track a little bit and go from there.
Well, hey, hell of a run, Double E. Congrats on that first win, man. You got anybody you want to thank before we kick you out of here?
Ogle and Isaacs there, they both kind of pointed me in the right direction on these cars, so I want to thank them for just reminding me, you don't need to take 4, you might get a lap and whatnot, just kind of giving me guidance on these cars to get started, and they both had trouble, so appreciate them helping me, and then Alan for putting this series. I like these throwback series, anything throwback, just get some guys in here that appreciate short track racing or racing in general and understand it. And that's why we put on a pretty good race, it looked like. And then my dad's probably watching. Mom and Dad, say hi to them. And then thanks to my red hot smoking wife for letting me do this.
Most important one. There we go. You don't want to forget that one, Eric. Congratulations on the big win, man. Can't wait to talk to you again.
Yeah, appreciate it. You guys do a good job too. I watched a couple of races. Y'all do great.
Well, hey, we appreciate it. You do the hard work out there. Good luck, man, next week.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
Well, JR, I would say obviously, we kind of highlighted it, but really the guy that we knew the least about surprised us the most here tonight with his first win of the season. Good run there for Eric.
Absolutely. Huge run. And, all the things that he said during his interview, I think is what played into his hands here tonight. And I think is what it's going to ultimately take next week at Oxford Plains. You're going to have patience. The driver that's able to keep himself under control throughout the whole race, eliminate the mistakes both on the track and in pit road when you need to make those stops. That's going to be the driver that's got the best shot. So I think he taught a lot of these drivers, even the seasoned, experienced drivers, a little bit of a lesson here tonight.
Well, speaking of next week, fire it up, Ryan. Let's take a look at what is coming up. We're at Bristol Motor Speedway Thursday night. JR, I had a pretty good one Sunday at Bristol. I think you're in for a good one here in 2 nights at Bristol.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild one. That's a division where normally we run the SKs, but I believe we're going to have the Tour mods there. So it's going to be exciting. Going to be a little bit of what we saw here, but on a faster, higher bank short track.
Well, next week, you see there, a week away, we're back at the Oxford Plains Speedway, JR, I imagine. You kind of hinted, but that's another one. We're going to have to get the gloves out. We're going to be fighting for the bottom next week.
Definitely going to be fighting for the bottom. Chris Davis touched on it a little bit. There's that yellow curb. You do not want to touch that yellow curb at all. In any type of modified, it's not good. It's also super easy on the straightaways to get too high. And the banking, believe it or not, there's some slight banking on the straightaways at Oxford Plains. And if you get beyond that banking, you're done because you're going to go right off the track when you get into the next corner. So it'll be interesting to see how these drivers control themselves and handle those situations. And again, I think guys like Eric here tonight are going to be the ones that come out on top.
Well, mark it in the calendar. Put your butt back in the couch. Make sure you tune in next Tuesday. But for now, that's going to wrap it up here for the YesterYear Tour Modifieds. I'd like to thank my partner, JR Shepard, the dude in the back, Ryan Seneker, and last but not least, we at the Virtual Grip Network want to thank all of you for tuning in. Have a great night.